welcome Colonel Kemp to the show. You're on the show today in response to a despicable news event that's made all of the papers today. That's Extinction Rebellion hijacked Armistice Day at the Cenotaph yesterday in an act which I believe is of sacrilege. It's made all of the newspapers. There's the Daily Mail calling it sacrilege. This character, Donald Bell, who at least claims to be a veteran and of particular importance to today's conversation with Colonel Kemp, claims to be from the same regiment, the Royal Anglican, placed a wreath at the Cenotaph saying, "Act now, climate change is war." And this has gone down very badly in the press. That's the Mail, the Express here, veterans fury at Cenotaph eco stunt. And in the Sun, Extinction Rebellion have betrayed soldiers. So the mood of the public court, Colonel Kemp, seems to be very clear. I wanted to talk to you specifically about how this has gone down within the veterans community.
Thank you very much, and it's a pleasure to be with you and your viewers here today. There's been enormous offence taken, not just among the veterans community, but I think among every right-thinking person in this country. And by right, I'm not talking about political right, I'm talking about people which make up the majority of people in this country, who have respect for those who gave their life and fought and made the ultimate sacrifice for our country. I've not heard anybody, I don't think, not one person have I seen, which is very unusual, have I seen who supports what Extinction Rebellion did yesterday at the Cenotaph. It was an act of sacrilege, of desecration of what is effectively a hugely revered monument to our fellow countrymen from all political perspectives, all angles, every part of society, men and women who gave their lives for our country. And it's caused, I think, considerable anger, and I would say particularly among former members and no doubt serving members as well of my own regiment, the Royal Anglian Regiment, because this man was wearing a Royal Anglian beret in his political stunt that he carried out yesterday.
So that in itself poses a huge problem. Before we move on to the wider fallout, who is this guy? Is he known to you? Is he known to the regiment?
I've never heard of him. He claims to have served in my regiment, the Royal Anglian Regiment, for a number of years and did 4 operational tours of duty in Northern Ireland. And of course, there's been a lot of chit chat on the veterans network from my regiment and other regiments. And so far, nobody knows who he is that I've heard of. So it's very unclear what his background is. If he did, in fact, carry out 4 operational tours of duty in Northern Ireland, then I would certainly give him very great credit for doing that, because at the time he claims in the 70s, it was an extremely dangerous place to be. And so good for him if he was in fact there, but I think that has to be questioned, in particular given his actions yesterday, because I don't know of any veteran who would deliberately spit on the grave of his fellow veterans, his fellow soldiers, who himself had been through that experience. I don't know of any one of them. There's plenty of other ways of making your point and of demonstrating. So I think we have to question that. The fact that somebody goes out and buys a Royal Anglian beret and a uniform, and the uniform he's wearing certainly wasn't around at the time that he claims to have been serving, so he clearly went out and bought it. The fact that someone does that does not mean that they actually did serve either in the forces or indeed in that particular regiment. And he's been photographed also wearing some Scottish regimental headgear as well. So I don't know quite what his game is. You know, as I said, if he was a soldier, if he did serve on operations, then, you know, I pay him due respect for that. But it doesn't excuse. In fact, in many ways, it makes his actions worse.
Something particularly concerning for me, and that is the image here of him stepping up to the Cenotaph, and in doing so, because this was open on Remembrance Sunday to a small number of veterans this year, all of those wreaths of poppies were laid as normal. He's quite clearly had to walk across them to approach the Cenotaph that closely. Now, I don't know about you, But I was brought up never to set foot on any form of gravestone, never to touch a poppy laid by another unless it was specifically given permission to do so. The act of walking over wreaths laid for the fallen, to me, absolutely crosses the line.
I think it's deeply disrespectful of him to, as you say, to trample over poppies over wreaths laid around the cenotaph. It's also disrespectful of him to actually directly approach the cenotaph other than in a solemn act of remembrance. It is a sacred place to many people, to most people, I would say. And you know, he was making a political point. It was a political demonstration. He was basically posting a billboard for his cause on the cenotaph, which is shameful. And you see, we've seen demonstrations recently of people swinging off the flags on the cenotaph and even trying to set fire to them and other horrific things like that. But these people, in my view, most of them seem to be people who probably don't even know what the monument is, what it means, what it stands for. They haven't got a clue, I suspect, but he should do if he, as he says it, if he was an ex-soldier. So yeah, it's a disgraceful act. And as I said before, I can't see a genuine former soldier who's fought and seen his comrades die in battle. I can't see them doing this.
You know, it's interesting that point you made about people not understanding history. Don't we hear all the time that British history is only taught through the prism of conquests, of victories, of only the good bits? And those on the liberal left end of the spectrum would like to change that. They would like history to be seen through the bad bits, through empire, colonialism, slavery. And I think, and I don't know if you agree with this, we've seen a real ground shift this year. During the lockdown, those demonstrations you alluded to there, Colonel Kemp, the Churchill statue was desecrated twice, first by Black Lives Matter, then by this lot, Extinction Rebellion. They both said Churchill is a racist. That statue had to be boarded up. It was not protected by the police. It caused great public discord. And then the cenotaph, as you correctly identified, a young man tried to set fire to the Union flag on that. And when he was arrested, he claimed he didn't know what that was. Now, that's one way of looking at it, but I've got another theory. This is deliberate. I sincerely believe that these new movements are deliberately targeting not only our most sacred monuments, but at their most sacred time. On the day of Armistice itself, I think this is targeted. Do you think there's any merit in that?
I do. I mean, I think as to teaching history, history should be taught in the round, good and bad. Of course, there's good aspects to our history, but predominantly good in my view, but there are bad as well. It should all be taught. Unfortunately, I think today in schools and at universities, far more often the negative aspects of our history tend to be taught. But to your point about whether this is orchestrated and organized and a deliberate attempt to attack the fabric of our society, I believe it certainly is. Why has Extinction Rebellion not gone and demonstrated at a memorial event for the Hillsborough Stadium disaster? Why haven't they gone and demonstrated at a memorial event for the Grenfell Tower disaster? Well, because I'll tell you why, because this is their political agenda. Their political agenda is not just to target any memorial service or any memorial event. It is deliberately to attack the military. It's to attack the fabric of our country and our society. And I think in doing that, they betray their real agenda. I don't believe Extinction Rebellion's real agenda is about climate change. Yes, of course, that's part of it, but they're really a hard left political group that wants to attack and target our society in the round. They want to impose their left-wing political agenda, and they do so by attacking some of the things, some of the objects that are most sacred to our society and most honored by our society today, including the Churchill statue. Churchill has been voted in a number of different polls as the greatest ever Briton, and some people believe he was. I do, for a start. Others do as well. He was certainly a savior of our nation in the Second World War. And then the cenotaph, which is, as we've discussed already, is a hugely significant site. And Armistice Day, which was the anniversary, the Armistice Day was yesterday, of course. That's something that many people honor. I was at Liverpool Street Station yesterday at 11 o'clock on Armistice Day. The whole station stopped. People didn't move, people didn't walk around, didn't make a noise, they stopped. Now that's people from all walks of life and all parts of society. And I think that's something that is an extremely important thing which we can't afford to lose. And we certainly can't afford to have it belittled by people like Extinction Rebellion.
It's interesting, you know, I'm a firm believer this is massively backfired, because I think we've had a very slow awakening by the British public to this. I think we were stunned, weren't we, at first, back in the summer when the memorials were desecrated. We were stunned. It was so inexplicable to those of us who've been brought up to respect and cherish and honour the flag, Queen, country, veterans, Armistice Day, Remembrance Sunday. These are completely off limits culturally. They were sacrosanct. And we were stunned initially. And then we were angry. I think now we're starting to wake up to this. This is something more sinister. And I think you're bang on the money. This is the path of attacking the very fabric of what we stand for by only looking through the prism of the bad bits, the worst bits, to make us feel ashamed of our nation. And when we are ashamed of our nation, something steps into that void to offer a new alternative. And you're right, this new way of thinking. And this guy who's posing as a veteran, he was on Good Morning Britain this morning, and he referred to this as our little ritual. He called it a little ritual, Armistice Day, a little ritual. And in that one phrase, Colonel Kemp, I think he showed himself for the ignoramus he is.
I think you're right. And he again, if he was a genuine soldier, perhaps he was, I don't know, but I'm very dubious about that. But if he was genuinely a soldier who served on operations, then he would see it as more than a little ritual. Armistice Day and Remembrance Sunday, these are events that really do, I think, in very many ways, bring our country together. And that's one thing that he and Extinction Rebellion no doubt hate. They don't like unity, they like division. They like to create division in our society. But you know, they bring us together. Why do they bring us together? Because people recognize that the wars, particularly the First and Second World War, wars like the Falklands War, these were fought for our national honor and for our national survival. And they were not fought just by the elites. They were not just fought just by the working people. They were fought by people from the top to the bottom, from the royal family down to people from the lowest levels of society. They were fought by everybody who made equal sacrifices, from the left and the right in politics, people of all races and creeds, men and women, all parts of society suffered, fought, and deserve and do get honored by our country as a whole. And I think it's that division they seek to create. And they cite, you know, he says in his slogan on his advertising billboard that he put up on the Cenotaph, he says, climate change means war. That is conjured out of nowhere. I've not seen anybody show me or demonstrate to me how the two things are connected. It's simply an excuse to be able to get at the Cenotaph, and it is shameful and despicable. And one thing I would say, yes, it is spitting on the graves of our servicemen who died fighting for the country. But can you imagine the offence something like that causes to the wives, the husbands, the sons, the daughters, and so on, of those veterans who were killed, for example, in Iraq and Afghanistan, in Northern Ireland, who are still alive today? It's like going up to their graves and just trampling on their graves. The horror and the offence that would be taken, I think, by their next of kin, by their families, by their friends. I think it just really underlines his despicable act. Because
we should always remember, shouldn't we, that the 2-minute silence, you know, is 1 minute for those who fail, and 1 minute for those, as you just so eloquently said, those who remain, who grieve, who mourn, the partners, the wives, the husbands, the sisters, the siblings, the extended family, the friends, the whole military network is remembered at that moment. So the act and the moment of desecration, I think, has huge significance. But here's what I think we should do about this. We shouldn't outlaw these people. We shouldn't get angry about these people. I want them to go legitimate. Black Lives Matter registered as a political party with the Electoral Commission 2 weeks ago, and everyone was saying this is an outrage. I said, no, this is good. Let's get these people and Extinction Rebellion on a platform in public and let's obliterate their ideas. If they want to abolish the police, if they want to abolish capitalism, if they want to sign us up to punishing climate change deals, which will decimate already decimated and left behind parts of Britain and the world, let's have those debates in public. Let's make them accountable, because at the moment, it's not only just pure dogma, but it's trampling on the very fabric of what it means to be British. And I think it's time to meet them head on. Do you agree with that?
I do agree with that. And I think you raised a very good point. And I think one point that you raised just a moment ago was extremely important, and one I'd overlooked, which is that, of course, they have the right to make these statements. They have the right to free speech. They have the right to protest. And it was that free speech and democracy and right to protest, right to live in prosperity, which was given to them by the very people whose memorial they are desecrating today. So yes, let's get them out into the open. Let's get them into a position where they can expose their, rather than throw away slogans by pinning something onto the side of the cenotaph, they can expose their arguments and have them debated and discussed more fully. Yeah, I would agree with that. And I think it will defeat them. I'm sure that this political stunt they carried out yesterday will have damaged, and I hope it does damage their cause. I don't think it will have given them any support, and I think it will have lost them a lot of support. Those people who are worried about climate change, I would say, should support other causes, not Extinction Rebellion. But yeah, I agree with you. Let's get them onto the political stage.
I absolutely concur, because one thing that I agree on is that we must celebrate freedom of speech. We must celebrate freedom of audience. We must be able to talk, but we must also be able to take on and obliterate bad ideas. And we should not be expected just to stand by and watch acts of desecration, such as that yesterday, such as that we've seen over the summer, without having the voice to fight back, without just being labelled as racist or climate change deniers or extremists. We're not the extremists. We are taking the responsible and the majority viewpoint by saying, just stop doing this and be civil. Colonel Kemp, you've been a magnificent guest as ever. Please, let's keep this dialogue going. You're so passionate. And those of you out there, please get involved. What do you think? Follow us on Facebook at Unlocked United Kingdom. Give us your comments. We're going to try and get this on the Daily Express later. Get involved in this debate. Do we think they should go legitimate? Should they be banned? I don't think they should. Let's hear more of their ideas. Let's take them on. Give us your comments. Follow us on Facebook, Twitter. Share your comments. Get involved. Thank you for watching. Colonel Kemp, always a pleasure. Never a chore, sir. Hope to speak to you again soon. Thank you for watching. Unlocked.
A great pleasure.